One of my most favorite things to craft for Halloween is some sort of a luminary, something that lights up. I love the brilliant reds and oranges that are synonymous with Halloween. And today we're going to put together our spider lamp, which is a little bit on the spooky side. So let's take a look and see what we have here in front of me. Now, before we dive in too far, we're going to do a little bit of prep work. This is actually going to go together pretty quick. So let's take a look at the parts that contain the vellum. Okay. Now this is the stand for the lamp. Okay, and I've already pre-folded everything, and as you can see here, we've got cutouts, and for this, we've got a series of vellum pieces that we're going to glue over these cutouts here, so that they illuminate brilliantly. Okay, so I'm going to do a few here, and then I'll leave you to do the rest since it's very repetitive. But you're not going to be able to see this part once we close it up, so don't worry too much about how you put your glue down. Just make sure that when you put your vellum down, you cover up the parts that need to be covered up, the little cutouts, okay? And go easy on the glue here. Don't overdo it. And just spread that right out so that it looks like that on the other side. Okay, so I'm gonna do one more here just to show you. Just go very easy on the glue with this. The vellum, it's about 27 pound, very light. Does not need a lot of glue to stick, and again, less is more, especially on little sensitive parts like this where you don't want to get any of that glue spilling over into the illuminated areas. Okay, so to finish this off, I'm going to put the rest of these on just like I did the other two. Okay, and each one of these is going to have a piece of vellum. So you're going to finish that off. Okay, then let's take a look at the top part, the actual lampshade. Now there's 4 pieces that have our little spider pattern and one that has this little opening. This lamp is actually going to have 2 tea lights in it. Not tea lights, well, you can use tea lights, but we're going to use those little LED lights that we use in a lot of our projects. Okay, so now for this, let's take a look at this one with the little opening. This one's going to be a little bit different than the ones with the spiders. You'll notice that there are, in this case, we've got glitter cutouts, but this one here doesn't have a spider, obviously. This is going to go like this. Okay, now since the top is open and you can see through the top, what we're going to do to kind of hide and make this look nice is we're going to sandwich the vellum between the outside of the shade and our, in this case, we've got a glitter piece. Okay, so it's going to get sandwiched between those two. So I'm going to do this one with you and take a look at the positioning of your vellum and kind of get an idea of where around the cutout you're going to need to put some glue. I would keep it pretty close to the cutouts, but not too close where you may end up getting some bleeding into the little cutout areas. So just be very sparse with the glue on this. You don't need a lot, and do your best to get that right in position so that you're covering up the little cutouts. Okay, so you can see what that looks like, and I may have actually gone a little bit too far over, but I didn't. Okay, so that's what that's going to look like, and then you can take this part and we can actually just get this all in place now. There's no harm in doing that right now, and my glue bottle is not cooperating again. Okay, so get your glue on this piece here. And again, go easy on the glue with this piece as well, because if you get too much on there, it may spill out onto the little vellum area. We don't want that. So if you do have some areas where you may have gotten a little too much, just dab it a little bit, flatten it out. Okay, and you just want to make sure that you line this up with the actual cutouts. And you should probably just try to line it up with the top here, and then also in the center here. Okay, so this one is the only one that's like this. The rest of them are going to be the little spiders. Okay, so that is how that should look. So we can put this one off to the side. Now let's take a look at the spider one here. Let me lay this out flat. So what I'm about to show you here, you're going to repeat 3 more times. I think the best thing to do, and again, you're going to repeat this 3 more times with the remaining 3 parts of the lampshade. There's 4 of these. You're going to do this 3 more times after this one. But I think the best thing to do is just start off by anchoring the very top of this. So kind of do this little area here, like that. And let's get this into place. Make sure that you kind of maintain an even border around that top part. Okay. And now make sure you take a look at the remaining part of this and only put glue around just in these little areas here. So we can flip this up, and I'm going to start by working some glue around the perimeter. Now down here, work with the curve here, okay, and go around that circle there. You don't want to get the glue outside of the area where the vellum sits, because the panel that goes over it is not going to cover it up if you go too far out of the boundary here. Okay, let me add a few more little specks here, and then just pop that down. And that should be good. And let's take a look and see how well we did there, and we did great. Okay, so there we go. So now we'll take this and we'll get our glue on this whole piece. And again, a lot of little details here, so try to focus on the perimeter. It's the most important. And then try to hit as many of the little interior areas as you can on the spider's body. And then maybe just a few little dabs here, little dots on the legs. And just get that into place before it starts to set. I'm matching it up with the little floor first. Once we get that into place, everything else should pretty much line up, just like that. Okay, and just press that down. There we go. There we go. All right, now if you do have any little areas that maybe, especially on the side here, that you didn't get enough glue on, you can take a little scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue on there, just lift it up ever so slightly, and paint some glue under it, just on the glitter part. And then you can push that down and hold that little spot in place, just to make sure that it's sitting nice and flush. Okay, so again, you're going to put the rest of the vellum on this, and then you're going to do the remaining 3 of the spider, since we already did this one. So here's 1, 2, and there's another one over here, 3. So there's going to be 4 total that are like this. So let's get all those in place, and then we'll go ahead and continue with the next step. Okay, so here is the middle part of our lamp, and here are the shades all done. We've got 4 spiders and then the door, and you can see how nicely that contrasts and illuminates. So we'll do the lampshade here in a minute. Let's just put the main stem of it together. And first thing we're going to do is we're going to connect This is actually a tab, except it's cut out so that it doesn't obstruct the cutouts on its neighboring piece. So we'll go ahead and get our glue on this tab here. And as usual, just to make sure that everything gels nicely, we're going to throw a little bit of extra glue right along the very edge so that we can get that glue and spread it out right up to the very, very edge. And we should be able to actually do this flat. Just get it lined up and connect it. Make sure it's nice and flush at the bottom and just press that down. And then we can take and fold it right on that seam where we just connected everything and press that down. Okay. There we go. All right. So that's that. And now we're going to need to put our top on like this. And it may seem a little wacky as far as the shape, and sometimes it can be a bit challenging to get something like this glued into place because of the number of sides, but I'll show you a little tip here to make it easier on you. But let's definitely get that glue out to the edge of the tabs. Now, I'm actually not even going to see the top of this because we're going to be gluing it to the shade, but we still want to do our best. Okay, so as we're putting this down, focus on lining up this edge here with the edge opposite of the side that it's already hinged on. And let's get that in place first. Make sure it's nice and straight. And then work your way around the rest of it. It should just kind of snap into place, and if you need to, you can kind of just nudge the rest of the sides in place until everything is nice and aligned. Okay, so I'm just working my way around, making sure that everything is making good contact, and even if it doesn't, you can always go in and just paint it with a little extra glue in the spots where maybe it's not making the best contact. Okay, just be patient while that sets. Don't push down too hard. You don't want to bend it or warp it, but you know what? That's good. And like I said, you're not even going to see this because we're going to put the lampshade on top of this. And there we go. Let's give that a few extra seconds to set. You can actually flip it over and then grab a dowel and push down, pardon my face for a second here, just push down on those tabs to get the rest of that to make good contact. Okay, so there we go. There's that. And now we do have some panels that we're going to put on this. Okay, now one thing to keep in mind here, if you look at these, you'll notice that there's a little bit more distance between these two cutouts compared to these two cutouts. These are a little bit closer together. So if we take this panel and try to put it here, you'll notice that it doesn't fit properly. Okay, you want to scooch it over one until it does fit. Okay, now this panel here, this panel is actually going to be flush with the bottom, and there's going to be a little bit of a gap up at the top. Okay, so that's all you need to keep in mind when we're gluing these down. And I'm just going to flip this over, get on the back, and when we're putting our glue on these here, you want to make sure that you do get your glue all the way out to the very bottom here so that the bottom doesn't pull away. And I've got a crazy pattern on here. Sometimes it's hard to see because there's no contrast as to where my glue is going. So if you do have the same situation here, just make sure that you're getting your glue in the right place. And again, as you're putting this down, flush with the bottom and make sure that you're putting it on the right section where the cutouts are closer together as opposed to spaced out more. Okay, make sure it's flush, and there we go. That looks good. Just press that down all the way up and down the design. And there we go. Very cool. All right, so just move our way over to the next set. And now, after we get that first one in place, the rest of them are kind of automatic. You really can't get it wrong now. Okay, so let's flip this over and get our glue on the next piece. Watch out for those cutouts. And actually, well, technically, you can't really get glue into the cutout, can you? I mean, I guess you can. And that's what we're trying to avoid. I think this lamp's going to be really cool. Okay, so again, making sure that it is flush with the bottom. So I'm kind of propping it down on the bottom in that crease, and then also making sure that it is flush with the bottom, and then just laying it down. The rest of it should just kind of fall into place. Just make sure that that bottom is nice and flat there with the rest of it. And look at that. That fits perfectly. And there we go. Let's see what we got here. Almost looks like those little towers in well, I could say Dracula's castle. And it's kind of an idea for something, huh? All right, so next piece here. Make sure you get that glue all the way out to the bottom and work those perimeters, and then get some glue here in between these cutouts as well. Grab it like this. Make sure you kind of put your finger here, push it up against your finger, and make sure that it matches up with that little fold there in the center. And then just run your finger along the perimeter and make sure that that sits nicely. And there we go. And we just have two more. And you can see the difference between that and just the regular cardstock. Okay. Moving right along, we got two more of these, and then I think maybe we'll do something a little easier. Not that this was hard, but we can put our base together, and then we'll work on our lampshade. And we are going to add some non-paper items to the final project here, which I'll discuss as we approach the tail end of the project here. But that's looking great. Okay, so again, I got my little finger here, using that to kind of help guide it and make sure that it's nice and flush with the bottom, and then running my finger along the perimeter, making sure everything is making good contact, and voila, there we go. Now you could technically put this down on your surface and press down from the inside if you want to, but I don't really think you need to do that. Everything is sitting nicely for me. All right, so that just leaves the last one, and I just got a bunch of glue that popped out there. I'm gonna have to clean that up a bit. There we go. Yeah, this little area here, I got way too much glue there. I'll spread that out a little bit. Okay, so again, make sure it's nice and flush with the base. Pop that right onto that little fold there in the center. Everything should line up nicely. Got a little extra glue that popped out of there. That's that spot that I said I got too much in, but that's okay. And there we go. Okay, so there is the base of the lamp ready to go. So we can put that off to the side for a moment, and let's grab all the pieces for the actual base. Okay, looks like a lot of stuff, but it's really not. Okay, so here is the main base structure, and I'm going to start here on this little section that contains the top, and we've got a little tab here. Let's get our glue on this tab and just start putting it together. Okay, so just tuck that behind the wall on this one. And hopefully that doesn't look confusing to you. The only reason I'm doing this is just because it's easier to grab this instead of trying to get my thumb in there. But you can see it's part of this wall here I'm just folding this back so it's easier to get my finger in here. I'm just going to press and hold that together for just a moment to let that set, and I can move right on to the next tab. Just throw a little glue on there. Just dab that nicely. Fold this up, get it nice and lined up, and press and hold. Okay. And moving right along to our next tab. And the glue is flowing like Niagara. Okay. I can move this tab out of the way. Get that connected and lined up, and then just press. There we go. And there we go. All right, so just a couple more tabs here. You got one here. There we go. And just get that connected. Make sure it's nice and straight. And that just leaves one more. You can see that little tab in there. Get your glue on that and just connect it to the inside of the neighboring piece to complete the assembly of our little wall structure here. Okay, so that's that. Now we're going to get these tabs down. I'm going to put some glue on all 5 of these tabs. And I'm going a little bit heavier because I'm going to spread this stuff out all the way out to the very edge. Okay, and just start painting that right out to the edge. I'm probably going to need more here. I'm just going to shoot some more glue on there. Yep, it's already starting to dry. That's okay. We'll get it. We can always clean it up later too, if we don't get it all in one shot. And plus, we're going to flip this over anyway. And this is going to be the bottom, so it doesn't matter. All right, so go ahead and close this up and pick a side here, either this side or this side, to line up first. Make sure everything is nice and lined up. If you need to nudge the wall in a bit, you can do so. And then just run your finger along the seam here and make sure everything is making good contact. You got it right out to the very edge. And just hold that momentarily. Give it a chance to fully set. And then check your work. And everything looks good except for maybe this one side, but actually it was still kind of tacky, so it looks like it's going to hold just fine. So there we go. I can take it and flip it over. This is going to be my top because this part was already connected. And actually you can see there that little tiny gap. Probably could just ignore it, but I'm a perfectionist, so I'm going to grab a scrap piece of paper, throw a little bit of glue right on that scrap, on the tip of it, and just pop it right in between the 2 sheets of paper there, the 2 areas where it's not holding. Paint some glue on there and just press and hold that down for a moment so that little area makes good contact and looks nice and polished. Okay, so this was the area that we just glued, but again, we're going to flip it over and we're going to use this as our top because it is perfect already because everything was already joined together. All right, so now we're going to create a little lip for this thing. Okay, and this piece here I've already gone ahead and folded and basically creased everything at the score marks. And we have one tab here on the end. And you're going to throw your glue on there. Okay. And grab the other end and simply connect it. Can actually, it kind of helps and makes it easier if you just flatten it out Just make it sit right on top of that other one. And check your little tabs here. They should be sitting right on top of each other. Make sure it's nice and flush here at the top as well. Okay, and here we go. Got that. All right. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take this and, well, you can actually take and fold these little tabs out. I'll show you what we're going to do here. We're going to slide it through this other piece, and we're going to glue it to the bottom. Okay, so it's going to sit like that. We're going to take this piece and just find a corner and find another corner and just slide it right through. It's going to be a little tight until we get it all in there like that, and we can push that back in place. Okay, and this is the little lip that this is going to sit over so that it doesn't fall over when we move it around. Okay, so we can flip this over, and we don't need to put a ton of glue on these, maybe just a little bit right on the tip so that the glue doesn't bleed through. Okay, make sure that's nice and centered. You can kind of fold it down and then put it down on your surface of your table. Make sure it's nice and flush up against that side there, and press that down so that that makes good contact, and then go opposite of that one to the other side and just fold it over. Pop that on your table, press down right here, make sure that makes good contact. So we've got these two now, and now go over to somewhere opposite of that and the other one as well. Okay, make sure that's making good contact. Fold that over and put that down on your surface so you can just press from the top so that we don't warp this thing. Okay, so we just did that one. Now we're heading over here, opposite of that one. Just throw a little glue on there. Put that down on your table. Press down. There we go. And I think with the rest of these, we can probably just do like 2 at a time. You can fold those over, press down. And we've got, just have 4 more. We'll do these here. Fold those over, put them down, and press down. And that just leaves 2 more. Just a little dot. A little dot will do. And put that down on your table and press down on those 2 sides there. Okay, so we've got that in place. Now we're going to take this piece, and that's going to get glued down like so. So go ahead and get your glue. Let me clean off this nozzle here. Going to get our glue on this piece here. Make sure you just get it out to the very edges here around the perimeter, and then we're going to pop that down onto our little base here. Okay, make sure you match up one of the stars with the points here. Just like that. Okay, so I've got the orange part down. Now this part is just going to go right over, and it's going to sit like that. Okay, so let's get this off and get some glue on it. And just get this in place. And then we can put this onto the actual base. And I'm just going really easy on the glue here, but making sure that I get it out to the little fine details here on the ends. Okay, grab that, and just need to slip it over. Make sure you line it up with the star shape, with the little points, I should say. Get it nice and centered there, and press that down. There we go. Okay, and finally, I'm going to take this and just glue it right to the top of this. So we just need to put some glue. I'm going to go a little bit heavier here on the inside, and then I'll do a nice line of glue right around the perimeter. And I'm going to just kind of paint that out right to the very edge so everything sits nice and flat. Oops, got a little glue on myself there. Just don't want to glue myself to the table. And just pick a corner, doesn't matter where you place it, just as long as it matches up nicely all the way around. And then just run your fingers along the perimeter, pressing down, just to make sure that you're getting good contact all the way around here. And then we'll give it a moment here to let it set, and then we'll check our work and make sure everything is sitting nice and flat. And let's see here. Yeah, it looks pretty good. There we go. Okay, so that just leaves this little panel that we're going to add around the bottom, around the base. So there's two, one that has 3 segments, one that has 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this one that has 3, and I'm going to place my glue in the center part of it. And you want to make sure that you get your glue out to the bottom so that it sits nice for you. And just pop that right on there using the little folded areas there as your guide, and then also just make sure that it's nice and flush with the bottom, and just press and hold that down for a moment. And then we can take this and flip it out. There's a nice chunk. And get our glue out there. Get it all the way out to the very edge on this piece so that doesn't come loose. Okay, and then very gently bring it over, make sure it's nice and flush with the bottom, and just push that down into place. And then we can head on over here to the other side and start putting glue on this piece. And let's get that glue out to the very edge there, a little bit along the bottom, and very gently. Just bring that over, make sure it's flush with the bottom, and press that down into place, just like so. There we go. Okay, and that looks nice. And that just leaves this one here with the 2 sections. And you can see how that's going to go on. So pick a side, it doesn't matter which one, obviously. And let's get our glue in place. Make sure you paint a little bit of that glue out to the very edge there. And you can drop this right onto that little peak, that little mountain, and pop that one in place. Make sure that it is nice and flush with the bottom. Press that down, and then you can flare this open and get your remaining glue onto this piece here, or get your glue onto the remaining piece, I should say, and a little bit right out to the very edge, and very gently get that right on there. Make sure it's flush with the bottom. It should meet this other piece perfectly. And there we go. Okay, so our base is all done, and that is going to sit just like that. Okay, so that just leaves our lampshade. All right, so onto our lampshade. We're going to connect. It doesn't really matter what order we do it in, because this piece is going to end up somewhere. Okay, so that's really there's no rhyme or reason to this, no special order. We just need to start gluing them together. So to do that, we're going to begin by just putting some glue on the tabs here. just like that. And just make sure you get a little bit out to the very edge there. And let's kind of spread that glue out. There we go. And just pick a piece, any piece, and get it nice and lined up as accurately as you can. And then just press that down, right down that little seam. And once it's got a hold, go ahead and you can fold it over onto itself. And then these little pieces up here should sit right on top of each other. And that's a good indicator that you've got it nice and lined up. Give that a little extra pressure. Okay, and there we have it. And then we just move on to the next piece. Okay, so doing the same thing here. Get our glue on the tab, go a little bit heavier so that we can kind of spread that out. There we go. And I'm just going to use my table whenever possible. I'm going to use my table. I'm going to grab this one here because I need a little boo-boo on the other one there. And get it nice and aligned. Give it a press. And you can fold it over onto itself. And check your work by making sure that these are nice and lined up here. That looks pretty dead on. Press that down. There we go. Okay, so we got 3 of them connected now. Now on to the next one. There we go. And spread that glue out. A little thick up there at the top. That's okay. I'll just wipe some of it off and get it lined up. Make sure that it's nice and lined up at the top there. There we go. Give that a press. And fold it over onto itself and check your work again. Yeah, it looks pretty good. Okay. And there we go. So 4 out of 5. And then the last one here before we go ahead and close it up. So we just have to do this 2 more times. Just get that glue out. Okay. And this is the one that our little tea light's going to go into, our electronic one, obviously. You don't want to put a real candle in here if you're new to this, because fire and paper don't mix very well. There we go. You can also look at the tabs down here. They should be sitting right on top of each other perfectly. And that's a good indicator that you've got it where it needs to be. Okay. And now since this is 5-sided, we can't do this part flat, but we can kind of flatten this part out once we get it into place. So let's get our glue on this final tab here to close this up. Oops. Now I'm actually done all 3 of these projects today in one day, so you should be able to do the same. Well, minus the cutting, obviously. Okay, so just get that lined up nicely. You got to kind of do it in the air here, but that's okay. Once we get it lined up, we can kind of squeeze it together, just like we did the last few. Okay, that looks good. I'm going to fold it onto itself now. This part's going to be kind of bunched up, but that's okay. It won't really harm it. But this way we'll get good pressure on there. And there is our lampshade. Beautiful. Okay, now we got to be kind of careful here. I don't want to put too much pressure on this when it's upside down. So I think what we're going to do is, well, we got to put the bottom on so that it holds its shape. Now you've got this piece here, okay, and we want the texture side out. And there's also a little piece of vellum that's going to go on here, and the vellum has a little hole in it. Now, in between this little star and this little teardrop is a little X, okay, because we're going to put a little fake little light handle, or not handle, a light switch on this that I just made with some cord and a styrofoam ball. So you don't want to obstruct that. That little circle cut out there is going to go right where the that little hole is for the fake little on and off switch, so to speak. Okay, so we'll get our glue here for the vellum and just work around the cutouts and then just maybe around the perimeter a little bit. Just like that. And then you can kind of throw a little bit here in the center. Just make sure that you get that lined up nicely with the little hole and that you're covering all of the little cutouts as well. And we can put this flat down on our surface now. Okay, so now I've got this on my table here with the little door facing away from me. We want the handle to be right here. Okay, so it's going to be on this panel here. So this needs to go down like this. Okay, so you just have to kind of remember that. So this star, how about this? How about we do this? We align the star with the back where the door is. Okay, there's only, well, yeah, just like that. Okay, so that when we flip this over, the handle is going to be on this side. Here's the door. Handle is going to be here. Okay. So on the doors on the back, the handle is going to be on the panel that is right in front of you to your right. Okay, so let's get this glued down. We'll start with the first tab here. So let's get our glue on this first tab so we can anchor it. Just like that. And I already forgot how I had this. The panel, okay, right, so the star here. So let's get this lined up, get it nice and centered. Make sure it's nice and aligned. Just like that. And once you have it aligned, we can put this down on our surface and press down on our table, but I want to make sure that I've got it nice and centered, and I do. So I can just drop this down and press down here. Don't worry about that. That's okay. We just want to get this anchored in place, just like that. Okay, that looks good. And now we can flip this open, and we're going to put glue on the remaining tabs here. And we're going to close this shape up, or this bottom piece up. Okay, so don't be afraid to go a little heavier on the glue here, because we're going to paint this out to the very edges. And this is kind of an awkward shape here, so you have to be kind of just gonna have to play with it a minute. Okay, let's get that glue out to the edges. Definitely before it starts to dry. I got a little bit too much there, but not enough in some areas, so it's spreading out nicely. And this part is already starting to dry up, so I'm going to throw a little extra glue here. Make sure it doesn't completely set on me. There we go. All right, let's close her up. And just try to get it lined up with one of these sides here. It might help to just kind of put it on your table like this and match it up like that. That really worked nicely. and check your work. Make sure it's nice and flush going all the way around. There we go. And if it's not making full contact all the way around, it's okay. We can always go in and fix it with our little painting method, but do your best to make sure that it's aligned as accurately as possible in as many places as possible before it completely sets, and then we can always go in and kind of clean it up if necessary. But that's pretty darn good. And you can put that down on your surface as well. And I wonder if I can get my hand in there. I sure can. And you can push down from the inside. Just be careful. If you need to, you can grab a dowel and do the same thing, like that. Okay, now I'm going to check my work here, and as you can see, I've got a big old gap there. So I'm going to grab some scrap paper and get a little bit of glue onto the very edge of it, and I'm just going to paint. I'm going to paint that glue right onto the tab there. There we go. And I'm going to press and hold this specific area down until it's fully set. Now, we're going to actually take, what are we going to take? We got some black beaded fringe that we're going to actually hang off of this bottom part. So even if it's not perfectly sitting there nice and flush, you can take some ribbon or whatever you find at the craft store to kind of cover that up and make it look nice and seamless. But I do want to make sure that it's as accurate and as perfect as possible. Never going to achieve perfection, but you know, we can do our best to get as close as possible. Okay, now I'm just going around here and I'm checking the other areas that I may not have gotten good contact with, and I'm just kind of cleaning that up, making sure that as much of this is flush as possible. Okay, so we've got all three parts of this pretty much done. And what we're going to do next is, so remember, this is the back, this is the front. We're going to glue this to this part here. You'll notice on the bottom of this, there's a series of little marks to help you with the placement of this. Now, again, the back here with the little door, the front, this is the front fold. Okay, now what we want to do is make sure that when we attach this here, that we have a section that is connected and not this little bare section here. So that is going to go, you want this section here to match up with this point in the center. Okay, so as opposed to this where you've got the little gap here. Okay, so we want this part here. So let's go ahead and get our glue onto the top of this and work some of that glue out to the edge. I'm going to kind of paint that out to the very edge, so that we get a nice clean connection that sits nice and flush, so it looks nice and professional. Okay, I went a little bit heavy on it, but that's okay because we want it to stick nicely. Okay, so I'm going to leave it like this for a second, and I'm going to kind of grip it like this and just get it nice and centered using those guides. And there we go. I'll give that a quick little press, and then you can put that on your surface, on your table, and press down. You don't want to press down too hard because you don't want to bend or warp it. And eventually, when this is on there, you're not really going to be able to see underneath it. So I think that's good enough. And then there's your lamp. Now, one thing that we're going to do to really jazz this up now, because the lamp's pretty much done, is, well, we've got the little pulley thing that's going to turn our lamp on and off. It's not really going to, it's just kind of an embellishment. So as you can see here, I just took a styrofoam ball and I poked a hole in it using a little hibachi stick. Let me see if I have one. I have one, but it's all caked in glue because I kind of use that to uncake my glue bottle. But I just poked a hole in it, threw a little drop of hot glue into that little hole, and then popped some cord in there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this a little bit longer than I need to. Okay, and then what might help is just taking a little bit of tape and just putting a little bit of tape at the very end of this cord. Let me move this out of the way so you can see better. And kind of making a little point. And that actually probably is not even going to work. Yeah, it will. There we go. It's a little more rigid than the cord. So then what we're going to do, and I should probably wait till this is more dry, but remember that little hole? I'll point it out. Remember that little hole there? This guy here, where that little X is and the vellum isn't obstructing it. We're going to feed this through that hole. See if we can get it to go through. There it goes. Okay. And then I can reach inside and pull that up to the height that you want it at. I think that's probably good. Take a look at that in the other camera there. I think that's probably a good height for it. And then we can just take that and tape it down on the inside, or you can use some hot glue if you'd like, whatever you want to do. And then to finish it off, I'm going to show you the little beaded fringe that I have that I'm just going to hot glue around the bottom of the lampshade. So I'm just going to do that off camera since it's completely optional, but you can definitely go to your local Michael's or Joann's, to that little section where they sell all the ribbon. You'll find something similar. And again, I'm just going to take this and just hot glue it around the perimeter, just to kind of give it that authentic little lamp sort of feel. And then once I get that black part on there, I've got this gold cord. Oh, where is it? There she is. And I'm going to put that just over the black beaded fringe as well, just to finish it off and make it look nice. And then of course, you're going to want to take a look at the final photo on the site to see where we also added some embellishments, and also to see it all lit up as well. So make sure, I'm sure you've already seen the trailer, which is why you're putting it together. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed the process. I know I did. I know that I cannot wait to display this during my Halloween party, and I cannot wait to see your version. So if you do make this, we'd love to see it. So join us in the official group on Facebook by doing a search for Dreaming Tree Group in your Facebook search, where you can join myself and the 15,000 plus other dreamers that inspire us daily. And also, if you enjoyed the process and enjoy the products, please take a moment and hit that subscribe button on our YouTube channel. That lets me know that you love crafting with me and you love the products that we offer. Big kudos to my team, Ron for his amazing designs, Diana for her impeccable engineering, and our new employee Mike for taking care of the customer service while I'm in here for 2 or 3 days, putting all this stuff together for you guys. So anyway, very blessed. Thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to crafting with you next time.
Stay on top of all things Dreaming Tree and engage with us today. Get the latest news and enter in our giveaways on Facebook. Get inspired by following us on Pinterest. Be the first to see our new product launches on Instagram. Do you prefer Twitter? Yep, we're there too. Watch our beautiful product trailers and assembly tutorials on YouTube. For more information, visit www.3dsvg.com. Live, craft, love, and dream.